Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Side Draft Media. Boy, do we have something special cooking for y'all right now. Can't wait to get into it. My co-host Ryan joining me, of course. We've got a special guest that's going to jump on with us. But of course, I wanted to shout out our wonderful sponsors that have been with us from the beginning. Mr. Don Tucker's custom Tucker'd out diecast displays. He makes these incredible 3D printed displays, y'all. He can make them any team, any shape you want. Anything you're looking for, any colors, any sponsors, he will take care of you. We'll put his links down in the description. We'll make sure you guys get linked up so you can get your very own cooking. Also, we wanted to shout out Adrenaline Rush Collectibles on Facebook, their group, and all the NASCAR memorabilia, collectibles, signed, whatever you're looking for. They probably got it on there. Go ahead and check out that link down in our description also. But man, like I was saying, Ryan, we got something special for you guys today. What do you got for me, bud?
Thanks, Don. Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is always an absolute pleasure and privilege to do stuff like this and be here to share insider stories and connect with people within the NASCAR community. Today's no different. We have a new friend to the show who's going to be joining us today. He is a media personality and driver from within the NASCAR community who has an excellent story to tell. We're going to welcome Kyle Whisner to the show. Kyle, there you are. How you doing?
Hey, welcome on, bud.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Kyle, I was just saying, we know you have one heck of a story to tell. We always like to start with your origin, and you're the first one where we've had a guest on that is also a media personality, because you just don't dabble in racing. You've also been in the film industry as well. So tell us, how did you go from film to NASCAR and connect the two? Because this is great.
Awesome. So actually, it's the other way around. I went from NASCAR to the entertainment industry, to filmmaking.
Okay.
My father was from Iowa, and he ran jalopies back in the day. And after he got back from Vietnam, he ended up moving to Southern California. He did a lot of drag racing with my cousins, the Newmans, and they were pretty much ahead of the Southern California drag racing deal that was going on there. He also did a lot of stock car racing. He was part owner in a Grand National car. When I was 1 year old, we moved from a trailer to Moreno Valley, California, which is right literally blocks away from Old Riverside Raceway, the road course out there. And we had a Grand National car sitting in the garage. And so since as long as I can remember, I've been around stock car racing my entire life. My dad did so many favors for so many people and hung out with so many people that as I got older, they all decided that they wanted to help me out as well because of what he had did. So instead of taking the payment for himself and saying thank you, he said, "Hey, look, my son's trying to do this," and I didn't come for money. I came from two hardworking parents who did the best that they could. And we ran carts with old junk parts, and I learned a lot about how to tear them apart and put them back together. Started with Pro Sucks, and a guy named Joe Nava, a very well-known car owner on the West Coast, gave me my first late model chassis. Nice. And I built that from the ground up. And we just did what we could with what we had. The one thing that I always like to tell people is that I was named after Kyle Petty and the 1978 Rookie of the Year, Ronnie Thomas. So my mom still tells stories about playing cards in the trailer or the motorhomes with like Stevie and Darrell Waltrip and all of them. And It's just, awesome. That's my life. And when you talk about like, what personality and what you think of who you are, that's who I am. That's what I grew up in all the time. Well, as I was racing and running Orange Show Speedway and Irwindale and the Bull Ring and all of the Southern California racetracks, I got to my early 20s or so, and my dad got ill, and I had to make a decision on what I needed to do with life. He wanted me to continue to race, but I knew I had to take care of him and the family and everything else. So for about 4 years, it was a rough go at it. And I took care of him and changed bandages after surgeries and did all of the stuff that you got to do to try to prolong life as much as you possibly can. And in that time, I was looking for work because racing wasn't paying the bills. I mean, it was our business. We did make money doing this. And at that time, you were able to. There wasn't as many people coming in, renting rides and doing that type of a thing.
Right.
But it still wasn't what I needed to survive and take care of the family. So I got a phone call one day, and it was from a buddy of mine who said, "Hey, I hear you're looking for some work." I said, "Yeah." And since I'm in Southern California, I'm not too far from Los Angeles. He gave me an address, said, "Show up to this address." I showed up, and it was a film set. And I got a job taking out the trash. I was a PA. So just whatever needed to get done, I did it.
There you go.
Yeah.
The rest is history when it comes to
There you go.
that.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
So all of that,
it gets.
well, and that's the thing. Like everything that I've ever done in life, people ask, like, how did you do all this crazy stuff? Like, and the answer to that is necessity. Like I had to. Like there was no other option. Like I had to work. So the entertainment stuff, once they figured out I knew how to drive, I got jobs hauling equipment around in grip trucks. I got jobs as camera cars. So I've followed horses through a stream in this weird rig with cameras all over it in an old Western, like just pretty much almost every job on set, all the way up to coordinating and producing and camera operating and all of that stuff. Whatever I could do to make a check and and continue to make a living is what I did. And then that led into, they realized I could act and I could be in front of the camera. And so just like motorsports, there are more jobs behind the scenes than there are seats to go race or sitting in front of the camera as the actor. So you just find whatever spot you can put yourself in to be able to help whatever production or event or whatever you're doing, and take up that role. And that's what I've done. So I've acted in commercials and movies, and been done the whole scope of all of the things that you can do. But I've never really focused in on one particular thing, because if you do that, you can go hungry really fast. So I've just jumped around as much as I could. And at one point when I realized with the film industry, you can work for like 3 months and not work for 3 months. That's kind of how the deal works, because you're looking for whatever gig or production is shooting next. My mother was working a second job at California Speedway as a security guard. And so she was, sitting at the front booth when the cars came in, checking people in. And I got a phone call from her, and she said, "Kyle, you need to check this out. There's all of these race cars here." And I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, it's California Speedway. Of course there's going to be race cars there." And she says, no, it's something different. I don't know what it is, but it's something different. And I think you could probably get a job doing this. And I'm like, okay. So she goes in and finds the manager who's working this event. And she gets the information. She sends me the information. Come to find out, it's Richard Petty driving experience, now the NASCAR racing experience.
Right.
And so he said, "Hey, bud, send me your resume." Sent him the resume. He said, "Great. Can you start tomorrow?" And so I showed up and got a job zipping suits on people and putting helmets on folks and buckling them in the car. That led to ride driving and instructing with them, and traveling back and forth from Las Vegas and California Speedway. And then soon it was into Kansas and then to Daytona. And at one point, their sister company came on board, and they did major manufacturer precision driving. And they noticed I could talk with people, and I was good in that capacity. And they said, "Hey, you want to travel with us?" So I left the stock car scene and started giving drift rides in high performance 707 horsepower Hellcats and Vipers. So
don't bring up Dodge with me, man. Don't bring up Dodge. That's my jam right there, man. I love it.
So long story short, that led to traveling all over the country. A lot of the major road courses. I've Coda and Road America and Lime Rock, and I've been able to turn laps at all of these places. So I was still working on my craft as a driver. I just didn't have the funding and the ability to get to the national stage when it came to stock car racing, which was always the goal. But life takes you in different directions.
Right.
While I was traveling, I ran into a gentleman who presented himself very well. Noticed that he had what it took as far as the business side goes to get into racing, and asked him if he wanted to ever try to think about getting into stock car racing. His name was Jesse Awuji, and he got into a stock car, and years later started a team with Emmett Smith and had the Xfinity team. And he called me up and said, Kyle, we got this Xfinity team now. Would you like a job? And I said, sure. So then I started at the bottom level of that organization, sweeping floors and cleaning toilets and being a tire guy and all of that fun stuff. And by the time I was done, I was running the shop and making sure the cars got set up and prepared and put in a box and head to the racetrack. And that was a great experience while it lasted. And they've with their business side of things and what they've got going on, they kind of started going in a different direction. So about that time, I got the call from NASCAR that said I was eligible to run in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And
Nice.
that was that was the beginning of this year. And ever since
congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, that's awesome accomplishment.
That's big time.
Thank you, man. It was a moment when, like, I'm not going to lie. When I hung up the phone with Bodine, I stared off into the distance like, what in the world just happened? It was an amazing feeling.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so this whole year has been trying to get the backing and the sponsors and working with different companies and finding ways to get into that seat and finally accomplish this goal. And who knows where this is going to take us.
Now that's awesome. And, a little bit of my recon work and you touched on it, just trying to familiarize myself with you, Kyle, before we sat down and did this interview. One of the things I had taken notice to, and you talked about the Richard Petty driving experience and how you bring it full circle this past year when you were attempting to get your truck onto a track at one point this season. I noticed a sponsor on the car, and I know that it's near and dear to you. It's near and dear to a lot of people, and that would be the Victory Junction gang. I know the Petties started this. Kyle Richard started this shortly after the death of Adam Petty. And, built just this remarkable facility for children with, terminal illness or battling cancer, whatever it may be, a place for them to just go be a kid and enjoy racing and just a fun, stress-free environment. So shout out to you for partnering with that. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with the Victory Junction gang? Because they're not just going to slap a label on a car. Obviously, you earned that chance to be part of that, and for them to put their name on your truck has got to be a humbling experience.
Oh, without a doubt. So for those of you out there who don't know about Victory Junction, you explained it very well of what they do. Essentially, at the end of the day, the kids get a chance to go out and live their lives and enjoy their friends. And I was at another event where they were talking about children with different cancers and the major cause of them not getting to remission was the fact that they were isolated through all of their treatments. And Victory Junction gives these kids a chance to just get out there and enjoy life. And no matter the ailment, the disability, and it's the experience, the humbling experience of it, to be able to go out there and you realize, like, no matter what you're going through in life, you're to see how these kids are dealing with their lives and handling the situations that they're going through with the maturity and the grace that comes with that, you start to realize that those little things that happen in your life that upset you, aren't really that big of a deal.
Right.
So that whole situation happened because, for as long as I can remember, I've been a supporter of Victory Junction. Everybody in the NASCAR community is.
How can you not be?
Yeah, it's
how can you not be?
every time I ever did a charity event on the entertainment side of things, when they asked what charity you wanted to have the money donated to, it was always Victory Junction. And when I got this opportunity, I was invited out to meet the kids and sign autographs and do the whole deal. It just, I realized I needed to figure out a way to get more support for them, because as big as that organization is, as amazing of a facility that they built, that money goes fast when every child and the family associated with it, when they get to go for free, right? When they get to go to this camp, like it costs a lot of money to do that stuff, and just realizing that they needed that support. So I started thinking about the business to business side of things and what companies would want to help support with that. And I have a lot of friends in the artist community, fine art. They paint paintings that go for $50,000 to $150,000 a piece, right? Very expensive, amazing paintings. And I got talking with a couple of them, and the company that the largest art gallery in the world, Park West Gallery. They have all of the paintings on all of the cruise ships all over the world. It started in building a relationship with all of these people, and so I wanted to find a way to be able to give back to Victory Junction. So I said, hey, if we paint or do a wrap on one of these trucks of one of your artist paint schemes, and we can do a Victory Junction logo on it as well to get the name out there, is there anything that we can help and make happen for Victory Junction? So Park West was gracious enough to come on board, and they put together a deal to where they are auctioning off this artist's paintings that go for a lot of money to go help support Victory Junction. And then in that same context, they are awesome enough to be able to, when it comes to sponsorships and like how that whole game works, my social media numbers are growing, but they're not at the point of a cup star or whatnot. And that's how you gain sponsors, is with that media following. And Park West has said, hey, whatever you have going on your side of things, we'll showcase it on our side of things with our social media stuff, as well as, all of those cruise ships all over the world. And that just opened other businesses to come on board and be a part of all of the stuff that we're doing, which not only, it's great. It gets us closer to getting on track and doing racing. That's wonderful stuff. But the most important thing is that we're making a difference in the world and giving back to Victory Junction. And so, as of now, there's actually an event that's coming up here in October. I can't talk too much about it, but that should be a really good day for Victory Junction and Park West as well. And so that's pretty much where we're at when it comes to that whole Victory Junction Park West connection that's going on. And I couldn't be more grateful for it.
And that's exciting because October is just a jump, hop, and a skip away, my friend.
Yeah.
Yep, I know. It's almost Halloween.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing that news. I also just, shout out to you for channeling that support into such an amazing cause. I am a before podcaster, and I've always been a NASCAR fan. I've been a musician, and it has been a humbling experience to be able to go down as a musician and share my craft and put smiles on faces at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, CHOP. And I've had the pleasure of doing that before, and it's life changing, because like you said, those things that you're all stressed out about in your daily go to, it's minimal and trivial when you go in there and see what these families and children are up against. And cancer in general, I know it's near and dear to you, Kyle, and it's affected every one of us, in some way, shape, or form. But when you see these kids, it's just, giving them a fighting chance, and hats off to you. And we'll just say right now, if anybody watching this wants to make a donation and make a change in those kids' lives, it's victoryjunction.org. Check out their website. It's any little bit helps. So,
and we'll include that link down there in the description for you guys also.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's
thank you.
I was gonna say, I think there's an old saying that talks about something of the fact that like your biggest flex is growing into the person that would have protected you when you were young. And that, with my childhood and how I grew up, though it sounds spectacular, it was a hard way of it with our family. And then to see what happened with my father and everything else, like I could go on to do all of the greatest awesome jobs in the world, drive race cars, act in front of cameras, do all of that fun stuff, but it doesn't really mean anything unless you're doing something for other folks. And so it's really cool to be able to have these experiences. And again, it comes down to all of the people out there that are seeing this. And I mean, a dollar, every dollar counts. And to be able to put that out, to be able to have, I guarantee you it is money well worth spent.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Now, we could shine some light on this and spin this a different way, because, come next season, when you get that opportunity to put your truck on the track, and that logo's out there and those kids are shining, smiling bright, and knowing that you've gone there and given that support, it's just great when it comes full circle, for all parties involved, and, continues to raise awareness to that cause. Speaking of getting your truck on track, I know that you're looking big into 2025. At this point, you're supposed to. You were telling us a little bit and how you had a deal in place looking at North Wilkesboro this past year, but then weather just didn't play into your favor any. What do you think in the 2025 horizon, Kyle? Where can we expect to maybe see your truck?
So the way that the whole system works out is I am currently qualified to drive in the series, but I have to start on a mile and under track. So that's how they stipulate it, which is fine because short tracks is exactly what I'm used to doing and what I love to do and what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if you look at the new schedule, there's, of course, you can start picking out the dates of what tracks are a mile and under. And all of those tracks are the ones that everybody goes to make their debut on. So it makes it pretty tough, right? Because now you've got over the full allotment of trucks showing up. So you have to qualify in. And because you don't have any points backing you up, depending on what team you go with, you either automatically get a spot if you've got points from the year pass, or you've got to race your way in on time. And so a good example of this, we talk about North Wilkesboro and how that whole situation went. So we tried our best to get on track at North Wilkesboro with a very small team, with a bunch of people from different organizations coming together, just trying to make it happen. Talk about the ultimate underdog story. But this is big business motorsports, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of people to make things happen. We got down to the wee hours of the morning the night before. Rain was forecasted to come in. We had a couple of glitches, a part failure, some things that were just making it really tough to get where we needed to get to. And we had to make the call. Do we spend another $15,000 to be able to load a truck up on the hauler and get it to the racetrack and it get rained out and we can't qualify in? What's the best choice of action here, right?
Which avenue is going to benefit us both moving forward, or
correct,
benefit everyone that's involved, really?
Well, and you don't want to show up to a racetrack unprepared.
Right.
You want to do it right. And
Correct.
so we took a step back, a humbling step back, and said, okay, this ain't going to happen this round. Well, that's when we started focusing on the next race to come. Now you have to make your start before Richmond. That's how it works, because after Richmond, the playoffs start, and they don't want to have new drivers that they've never seen come in and mess up a playoff situation, right?
Correct.
And which is a great idea. And so we started focusing on Richmond and started getting sponsorship stuff together for that. And I sat in a lot of meetings and worked with a lot of folks. And right towards the end there, they decided that they were going to go a different avenue and probably go with a more well-established driver, which is perfectly fine.
Part of the business.
Because it's part of the business. At the end of the day, the folks that have come on board with a relatively unknown person, myself, everybody in the garage area knows who I am, but most of the folks in the world have yet to know who I am. I am completely grateful for them. It's amazing that they have taken the chance on someone like me, and I'm going to make them proud no matter what, and guaranteed it's going to pay off for them in the long run, because the story is going to be awesome. For those that move on and decided to go other directions, more power to you. I'll see you when things are kicking off, and we'll make some things happen there.
There you go.
Yeah.
But as far as the 2025 season goes, there's a couple of races in there that we can make our first start with. I mean, it would be great if once we do that, it's just nonstop, full time, all the way through it. But in order to make this stuff happen, you got to realize that with the best of the best equipment, say a McAnally truck, you're looking at $115,000 to $150,000 a race, depending on what race you're going to. And that's for any of us out there, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So in order to do that, I have to have the right companies on board to be able to make it happen. And that's where I've been spending all of this time doing things that is completely out of my comfort zone. Strap me in a race car, I'm good all day long. But sitting in a boardroom talking to folks, it's a tough deal.
Absolutely.
But that's what it's going to be all the way into 2025. And the key here, if there's anybody out there that's watching that wants to be a part of all of this stuff, let us know and we'll make some stuff happen. We can get you on the hood of a truck, on a quarter panel, out at the racetrack, doing all of that fun stuff. It's a great investment. You get a lot of folks that see it. And it's a win-win for everybody when it comes to the branding side of things. So I look forward to next year. It's kind of at the end of the day, when Richmond didn't happen, it was a little bit of a weight off the shoulders to say, okay, let's regroup. Now I've got this time to be able to focus on the next couple of months to be able to get things prepped for 2025. And who knows what that's going to be like, because all we need to do is I just need the opportunity to get out there in the truck to show folks what I'm capable of, and heck, put a camera on me. As soon as the camera gets on me, it's game over.
There
Absolutely.
you go.
Yeah, it's tough, and Side Draft Media here, we can relate a little bit with you, Kyle, and it's not apples to apples comparison, but when we're a newer relative, newer face into the NASCAR media world, and it's an uphill battle, especially when you have all the confidence in the world and knowing that what you're doing as a business or as a person and checking all these boxes, except, it's like when you get that job, you see that job requirement, right? And you check all the boxes and then it says experience required. And that's the tough hurdle sometimes to overcome. And everybody can relate to that at one point or another. And, we here at Side Draft Media support your cause and know you check those boxes, and we're hoping all the best for those opportunities for you. I glance ahead at the 2025 schedule, and there's some fun tracks on it. That would be great to see you riding around. One of my favorite is coming back to the Truck Series and Xfinity Series at Rockingham. There's certainly some fun ones. There's a track that's coming in the Cup Series, though. I want you to shine some light on, because I know I know. And see, I can see you smiling already. You know where I'm going with this. It's one that you have a lot of experience in a late model in at Bowman Gray. I was super excited when I saw this as the new Clash, because just the history there. Can you shine some light on the Bowman Gray and how excited you are to see that on the schedule? Because
Dude,
that is a
Bowman,
neat.
you took the words out of my mouth when it comes to it. So I cut my teeth at a place called Orange Show Speedway. So Orange Show is, the Chocolate Myers calls it the Bowman Gray of the West. It's a quarter-mile oval. The tire marks going up the billboards, rough and rowdy, root 'em up racing. And it's just a different form of racing. Very close quarters. You're working with inches when it comes to getting around folks. It takes a lot of car control and a lot of precision to do it. It's a lot different than the high speed, even the mile and a halfs or the Talladegas out there or Daytonas, right? It's just a different form of racing. And I've always said that one is more like piloting, the other one's more like driving, right? You got to wheel a car when it comes to the short tracks.
Right.
So when they did this whole thing at the Coliseum and for the Clash in California, I thought it was great idea. I love the short track stuff. It was exciting to watch. The cars were super rigid and you could like punt 5 cars ahead of you but in a line because nothing crumpled.
Right.
But as it's progressed and they've built in these crumple zones in the cars and everything else, it means now that you can't get into, like, example with my experience on the quarter mile ovals. I don't know how many times sitting there going, then all of a sudden I've got my hood's up over my windshield and I'm looking through the little hole, for the air cleaner trying to get through there, because everybody just gets stacked up and you end up running into folks. That's the difference between the good racing when it comes to it is the attrition that comes from it if you do it wrong.
Right.
Bowman Gray is, I think capacity is 18,000 people. They pack in 20,000 on a Saturday night for a sportsman race there, a modified race. And the energy is electric. I tell people, if you want to go experience what stock car racing is, you got to go to Bowman Gray Stadium, because and there's the family sections where everybody's hanging out with their families and doing their things. And then there's the beer garden where everybody's rough and rowdy and having a good time. But that's that type of excitement, the crowd, it's like watching, and nothing against streaming services, watching a movie on your couch or watching a movie in a theater with a crowd full of people who's hooting and hollering when they see Captain America pops up on screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing. And that's what Bowman Gray offers, right? Like you go out there and you're like this with people and, go, 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 and all of the stuff that goes. And then someone gets into somebody and they start roughing them up and everybody cheers. And I think if they can capture that, and I think they're doing it right. So like NASCAR came in, I want to say the beginning of this year, maybe it was partly into last year, and they took back over the officiating that was going on at Bowman Gray for a long time.
Well, it was turning into a bull ring, man. It was turning into demolition derbies.
It was getting rowdy there. Yeah.
It was getting rowdy on social media for sure.
So there's the show of it, right? And that's what the promoter really was focused on. And it draws a lot of people. Good racing also draws a lot of people. Right. So you have to balance it really well. And they had both. But of course, the only thing we see everywhere is when people are throwing buckets at each other and running into each other and everything else.
Right.
But when NASCAR came in and started officiating again, there was changes that you started to see happen at the racetrack. And I think they're doing it right. They went out when they made the announcement. And on the night they made the announcement, they went around and started handing out tickets to people in the stands, thanking them for being the local fans that show up. Just here's a free ticket for the event, right?
Wow.
Because as big as this is going to get, and I already know the parking situation and how that whole world works over there, the people who are going to show up to this, a lot of your average fans may not get the opportunity to get in, right? Unless they're like, I'm signed up right now as for the waiting list to So when they first come available, I can purchase a ticket for it, right? Like,
Wow.
and like that's how many people are going to show up to this thing. It's
Yeah.
going to be huge. The Coliseum was awesome. And there are a lot of race fans in Southern California. I come from the Southern California circuit. A lot of your great race car drivers, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson, they're all from the West Coast, right?
Yep.
There is nothing, though, absolutely nothing that will rival what Bowman Gray is going to be, and the excitement that place is going to bring when it comes to the Clash. So I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah, when they announced this, it was like boom, shock. Like I was, but at the same time, I was just like, as a as a guy who's been a race fan since he's been in diapers, I of course know what Bowman Gray is, even though I'm up here in Pennsylvania, not getting down there to see those types of races. But man, I know the stories, I know the legends. It's exciting and it's historical. And I have so many questions, like how, like, it's like I'm hoping that NASCAR can somehow bring in some temporary seating and like things to allow more people to get that opportunity. Like you said, you're on a wait list already, and it really, I hate the fact that it does seem like it's going to be a corporate event, like you just mentioned, because it's but we need those race fans in there. We need to pile the droves in, and that's what fans have been asking for. And I feel like you talk about the West Coast and the Coliseum, and I for one always thought it was a neat race. It's beating and banging short track, back to the roots NASCAR racing. But I think where the fans and having a pulse in the fan base, like we do here at Side Draft Media, doing media different, with the heart of the fan in mind, we think like they do. And it's like, well, why is NASCAR spending so much money to build something and just tear it back down, where
Right.
there's all these historic racetracks that are still there, still scratching and clawing, like a lot of up and comers like yourself. And like these tracks though that are there, they're clinging to life, like the Bowman Grays, the Rockingham that we're seeing coming back, and
Wilkesboro.
Wilkesboro. There's just been all these tracks that, and I'm glad, and shout out to people like you and the and within the NASCAR community that are talking about these tracks and shine a light on them, because it's exciting stuff. And I'm glad to see NASCAR taking that money that they would have spent out at the LA Coliseum, because yeah, it was a great show. I, for one, want to see more laps, though. Just saying. I want to see more laps because it just goes too quick. But then, you bring that show back home at where, NASCAR got its roots at Bowman Gray. And then you see all these other historic tracks. Do you think that this is the right direction for NASCAR to go in going forward? And do you think we're going to see more of this as we go forward?
So I took the time and spent a lot of my hard-earned money to be able to go out and create some, we'll call it a web series, and it was called Historic Short Track Road Trip. And I went to Hickory and I went to Tri-County, and we ran a limited late model, and I brought a team of amazing film students from University of North Carolina School of the Arts, and they came out and they made this cinematic, beautiful revelry to the short tracks and the short track racers, right? I made 3 videos out of that. As of now, we're over 1 million views when it comes to all of the different deals. No advertising at all.
Yep.
Respect, man. That's awesome.
It just happened. Like it. And my point to that is that's what people wanted. Like they wanted to see this. They needed this. And that's all I was trying to do, is trying to shine a light on the hardworking men and women of the sport that, and when we talk about the folks that run there, right? A lot of people will call it the bottom of the sport, but it's not. It is the sport, right?
It's the backbone, man.
Yep. Yeah. The big show, as I call it, went on to go national and have all the television coverage and all the things with it. But it's the local short tracks that a lot of guys, I would say some of the best racers in the world are at. They just, never have the opportunity to get out of that and move to the next level because of the money associated, or they don't want to. Like some folks will like they enjoy where they run and the fact that they've got 12 championships at their local track. And that's the life.
For lack of better words, they like being the big fish in the smaller pond type deal.
Yeah, yeah,
you know? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Living that life, like look at on the dirt side of things. You got like the Bloomquests who went out there and made an amazing living doing what he did.
Right.
And Larson talks about it now with the sprint car deal, saying that some of those guys are making more money than half of the Cup Series guys are making. There's ways to make a business and make a living out of motorsports, and it doesn't have to be at the top of the sport,
right,
or the big show of it. You can do it at any level you want, and if you choose to do it there and don't want to move on, then that's more power to you. And then you've got guys like, as this whole thing's progressed, right? Then you started hearing the talks about like the Cars Tour, and they said, okay, let's see what we can do with the late model stocks on these short tracks. And now you go to Florence or any of the other places, and it's as big as any other race. Like it's like going to Bowman with all of these people selling out the stands, coming to watch the races. Now, this is amazing to us in today's age because we haven't seen it in a very long time.
Right.
But if we go back in history and we look at how motorsports evolved back before there were so many different ways to spend your Saturday night, or Friday night or Thursday night, as some of these folks were doing, literally the stands were packed full of people watching stock car racing. Bowman Gray, I'm going to get the date wrong, but 19, whatever it was, 20, 30 something, 31 or whatever it is. They're running races 4 nights a week at there. Right. So, and it makes you think about it, right? Like they're selling tickets 4 nights a week. And these guys, that we couldn't do that in today's age, the way we tear up cars. We wouldn't have a car count by the time we're done. But these guys were figuring out how to put on a show, right? And like for the fans, and going and racing and being able to load their car up or drive their car back to the shop and do it all over again the next day, right? Like, so like what we're experiencing though, and it seems amazing to us, but it's a norm for how motorsports has been. And so when you ask that question, is this the way that it's going to go? This is the way it's always gone. It's just now there's outlets for it. There's social media. There's all of this. We can watch flow racing. We can tune in and get all of our racing fix in these different ways, and not just the big show. And don't get me wrong, the NASCAR as a whole and what that is it is an amazing entity, and it puts on an amazing show. Absolutely. And the production value and all of the stuff that goes with it. That's what makes us race fans, to be able to see all of the stuff that's going on at that level of it. And it's the pinnacle. Like everybody wants to aspire to run the Daytona 500, right? But it's just amazing now that we have that and all of the rest of the things to be able to entertain ourselves with.
It's really brought that resurgence back to those short tracks. Like you were saying, that the presence of social media, like, hey, there's a track, 30 minutes down the road, people might not have known about until they saw it on Instagram or whatever the case is. It's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And so Kyle, I just want to touch briefly real quick. Seen some pictures. Looks like you were at Darlington this past weekend. Can you give us a little bit of the insight, your experience down at the track? I know, you're busting, pounding the pavement and networking yourself. So give us a little bit of insight.
So went back to Darlington, and I've been away from the track for a little bit, right? I've been doing all of these business meetings. I've been working on set and just trying to make a living doing what I do. And so, life can take you in different directions when you're trying to get to the goal that you're trying to get to. And I had been in that garage area for a year and 2 years worth of my time, and doing the hard labor, the work. And speaking, for those of you out there, today that we're filming this is Labor Day, and we're going to talk about some labor. I want to talk about all of the hardworking men and women in NASCAR that aren't sitting in that seat.
Yes, absolutely.
These folks work their bodies to the bone. They grind. It's kind of like the hierarchy system. The more you know, the more you start to use your brain and your knowledge to be able to get a good win. But as you're starting out and you're working your way through this stuff, you put in a ton of work. And I was a tire specialist for a good year and or a year and a half or so, and whenever I could. And for some of these smaller teams who don't have the big tire deals where all of their stuff is pre-mounted and everything else, you're constantly running around 75-pound tire and wheel and times 4 times 6 sets, plus your wets, and moving them around with carts. Like by the time I was done doing all that stuff, I looked like Thor. I mean, you're lifting that stuff. But the amount of work that these folks do, and we talk about the backbone of the sport, it's all of those folks. So a shout out to everybody who grinds and puts in the work to do all of that. But for me, it was kind of weird because I was showing up essentially as a fan or a friend. So Kyle Weatherman, the Xfinity driver.
Nothing wrong with that. You gotta enjoy the sport too, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to get back and see how everything was going and see everybody. And I was on the same team with Weatherman. Weatherman drove for us. And interestingly enough, that's how I got, everybody calls me Whiz, right? My last name's Whisner. And my dad's nickname was Whiz as well. But that all happened because we were in the same shop for so long that every time someone said Kyle and we like both looked at the same time, we had to figure something out. So Weatherman became Weatherman and Kyle Whisner became Whiz.
There you go.
But love the guy to death. Very hard worker. Knows how to work on the cars. Is a team player. And, just in talking with him and doing business and whatnot throughout the years, he was at Darlington. Darlington is one of his best racetracks. He loves to and run that high line, and I wanted to see him go do it. I wanted to be there personally to watch him go do what he does best. And so he got me a pass, and I showed back up, and it was again, we talk about humbling experience just to realize how many people actually know who I am in the garage. Like I walked in and automatically it was Whiz, and how you been? What's going on? What's happening with things? And like, I couldn't be more grateful for all of the folks in that garage area who are rooting me on, because they know it's an uphill battle, man. Like,
right.
I can't write a check to just get in the car and go and do it. Like I'm not a gentleman driver. That's not my plight in life. I had to work my butt off, and they watched me for all of that time work my butt off, and they want to see me do it. So they'll do whatever they can to make it happen. And it's awesome. So like, it was just an awesome day of running into old faces and seeing how they're doing and how they're keeping up on stuff. And, it didn't end the way that we wanted it to. He ended up, had a tire go down and popped the wall and had to end the day short. But that's Darlington for you. It's a
Lady in Black, man.
Track. That's it. So yeah, it was a great experience to be back out there and see everybody. And now it's time to refocus, put the focus back on finding that funds, because the next time I get back out there, my plan is to have a truck and a crew and a hauler and all of those same people there as either part of the team or competitors. So it's going to be cool.
Well, I know, we here are pulling for you, bud. And it's great hearing stories like this. And we certainly wish you all the best. And I think big things are coming for you. You're going to be able to live out your dream in 2025, my friend. Really do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
I'm really excited to be a new fan of you and have a new driver to follow. That's my favorite thing about this. I wanted to ask, I know we're getting close on time, but I did want to ask, do you have a track that you haven't driven yet that is just sitting in your mind that you're like, I can't wait to get my booty on that track and turn laps and experience?
Bristol.
There you go.
Bristol.
Love it.
Like, I've got to instruct at Daytona, and that
Okay.
moment, like again, one of those moments where I was speechless after being able to live out that dream of, I know it wasn't a full on race car, it was a school car, but it was still that experience of getting up to 170 some odd miles an hour at Daytona was an amazing experience.
There's
Insane.
nothing like it. Nothing
But
like it.
what,
I've done the ride along there. It's insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had
exactly. So
Go ahead, bud.
oh, I was gonna say, I wonder what year that was, because I wonder if you were sitting next to me or not. And we just didn't know.
Oh, can you imagine how
That
crazy?
yeah. Life would have really came full circle there, but I don't think it was you. It was like that was like 20 years ago. So
Gotcha.
it was a while back, but yeah, it was an experience unlike anything else. So I can totally relate with you on that. Daytona's wild, but
But when it
Bristol,
comes,
great
when it
answer.
comes, yeah, Bristol, without a doubt, it is a very, very fast, high paced, short track. Banking is amazing. I always like to joke and say that when I was a kid playing Papyrus, the NASCAR racing on the
Yes, that game
computer,
was awesome.
yeah, like I remember going to Bristol and thinking that like I was on the wall, but it was really just the banking of the racetrack.
Yep.
And since it's all concrete, I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And with iRacing, you know, of course, everybody now is doing the sim racing stuff, and I enjoy doing that as well. And I can turn some laps at Bristol on the sim, so I'm really stoked to see how that translates when it comes to actually strapping into a truck and running there.
Man, I'm
I
looking
love that
forward
you
to
brought
it.
Bristol up because I'm getting my first Bristol experience here in a couple weeks. I guess 3 weeks from now. My very first time going from San Antonio. We're going to drive out to North Carolina, check out the Hall of Fame, go check out a couple shops, and then swing over to Bristol to check out the night races. So it's been a
Sweet.
bucket list track just to get out to it and experience, and I can't wait for it. So
When you walk in that place, the feeling that you get when you look around, and there's no other place in the world like it other than the original Colosseum in Rome, which I've been to.
really,
Like, yes. So, long story short, when I was a kid, I mowed lawns for an entire summer to be able to make up enough money to pay for a thing called EF Educational Tours. So the high
nice.
school sent us over to Europe, and I
Hell
was
yeah.
only over there for 2 weeks. I spent a day at the Coliseum. Right outside the Coliseum is a place called the Circus Maximus. It's Martinsville. It's literally
Okay.
Martinsville. They had classes: 2 horse, 4 horse, and 8 horse, and
That's
they did
right.
chariot races on this long paperclip. But the Coliseum, you walk inside of it. When you walk inside of Bristol, you're experiencing the same thing. Just seats all the way around you, all down in this little dome. And when cars hit on track, just the reverberation of the motors and everything else gets funneled out through those seats. It's just, you're gonna have an amazing time.
I can't wait, bro. I love it, man. Are you gonna make it out to Bristol in a few weeks? Is that on your
So Christy, my fiance, really wants to go out there and check things out. So I'm going to talk to some folks and see if I can get some passes to go back down there and see everybody. She's also working an event out
good deal?
there as well. So I'll possibly be there, maybe run into you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll keep in touch after this wraps up, of course, and of course, we're gonna have to share a drink or whatever at the whatever presents itself at the time. So
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, again, like I can't express how thankful I am that you guys have me on the show. I appreciate the opportunity to tell the story. I'm looking forward to seeing all the amazing things that you are about to accomplish and what you've already accomplished with everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Your
Thank you.
branding's on point. The way that the love and the energy that you bring with what you guys have going on for the sport is worth all its weight in gold. And I would say guys like you, but just you guys, you are what make the sport go around and give everybody that much needed content that they need outside of the major media. So I'm looking forward to the day when you all are the major media and everybody's looking to get on your show. And I can say I was one of the first.
man,
Yes,
we
sir.
love that you
Thank
actually
you so
were able-
much.
yes, take the time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us, share some of your stories with us. It's so appreciated. I know from all of us here at Side Draft Media. Just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome, guys.
And to the listeners out there, again, it doesn't take much to get yourself onto a race car. I know we talked hundreds of thousands, but little dollars help equal those big dollars. So, help a guy out if you can. Kyle, you're a great dude. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything. I know we're cutting it really close, but this may have been the first time you're on, but I certainly hope it's not the last. Thank you so much.
I'll be here anytime.
Appreciate you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kyle. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. All right, Don.
Right.
Man, wow. Just, incredible. Another great person within the NASCAR community taking time to, just basically shine a little light on his star and just share another great story of, blue collar hard work and how hard it actually is to get to go race these cars on whether it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, or whatever it may be the case, anything in between. Just so much work. And I'm just so appreciative that, we had Kyle on here today to be able to share this with everybody.
Absolutely. Well said, Ryan. He used an analogy earlier talking about how the film industry isn't that different from the racing industry and how the people behind the camera don't get the love and respect that they really, truly deserve. And he's absolutely right. It's no different where we're trying to bring that attention to these people behind the guys that are racing the race cars and share their stories. And especially the guys that are trying to get their racing career going. It's absolutely beautiful. I am just in absolute awe of everything that we've been able to experience. And now with Kyle adding to that list of wonderful guests that we're experiencing, I'm speechless, bro. Absolutely speechless.
Yeah, same. But if you're out there watching, listening, please remember, like, subscribe, share this stuff. We grow with you guys. So I thank everybody out there who's chimed in. Give us some comments, give us some feedback. Any little bit goes a long way in anything. And we appreciate you all. Don, thank you once again for another great episode. And, we'll continue to grind at it.
Absolutely, man. We're going to get back after it. We're looking forward to Atlanta now. So that's going to be an exciting race. Just from everybody here at Side Draft Media, myself, Ryan, our executive producer, Nathan behind the scenes, always busting butt. Thank you guys, everyone, for supporting us and being with us. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.